Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gospel Tech Podcast. My name is Nathan Sutherland, and this podcast is dedicated to helping families love God and use tech. Today, we're talking about finding balance with video games because we're in the school year and time changes. Sometimes it's appropriate to use video games a certain amount, and it's not appropriate at a different time of life or different time of the year. So how do we find balance? We're looking at three things specifically. We're going to look at our priorities, and then we're going to look at our tech that we're choosing. Then we're going to look at our health. This is going to be an overview of the conversation. I'm referencing resources I've laid out in great detail in other spots. So as we go through, I can point you back to those, but I'm not going to go through every little piece because I want it to be a shorter, quick beginning of the school year kind of episode. So here we go. When we're talking about this, I am assuming that you've already discerned that the tech is a good gift for your child. So you know that it's safe and that it's a good fit for your child and it fits your family expectations. If you're not certain what I mean with that, go back to the episodes where we talk about how to pick the right tech for your family. That's going to be number one, is you got to make sure this is actually a good fit for your children. In my family right now, we don't have video games. It's not because we're against them. I'm a big fan of a lot of video games, but it's just not a good fit for my children or for me, a former gamer who hasn't played a video game in 13 years because God said, you need to trust me with that part of your life. So in my family, we go, you know what? Not a good fit right now. But if your family said it's good to go, then we want to say, all right, where is it in our priority order? If you go to gospeltechworkshop.com, I made something called the Family Tech Framework. You can go on and check out the first lesson. It's just an online workshop. Digital Nathan walks you through all the conversation on the two types of tech and how to know if it's healthy and how do we use it well. And then the second part is actually making a framework where you talk about like, hey, what's important in our family? Like, what do we need to put first? If you feel like you need help in talking that out, the Family Tech Framework is there for that very thing. It can be used in a small group with your church community. It can be used with just your family, just yourself, however you want to use it. But just know that that's a way to help set priorities. We talked about that in more detail last week. But our verses for this are really twofold. Our priorities, first of all, I'm using 1 Corinthians 6:12, where all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but I'm not dominated by anything. We look at, all right, in priority, the Lord comes first. I'm in his kingdom. I'm bought with Jesus's blood, and I am now made a child of God. And as 1 John reminds us, that being a child of God means you look like Jesus and you do what he does, which is love God with all you are and love your neighbor as yourself. Does this video game, very literally, does it help me do that? It might be neutral. It might be like, you know what? It doesn't hurt me and it doesn't help me. It's just kind of one of those things I do with my time and it's discretionary time. Cool. Pray into that with a clear conscience. You're good. There are times where we're like, you know what? I'm definitely giving up opportunities to love others because I'm here, or it actually makes me not love them. The way I act with these games or what I'm giving up in order to get to these games is not loving. And I can't do this with a clear conscience. Boom, we've got a priority situation. The second, and this makes sense in my head, so bear with me. It's Psalm 19:1. I love this. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There's something about being in nature, and there's something about God's creation, both the people, the animals, and the world around us, the nature, that calls our hearts to him and to something greater. It is all too common that digital spaces call us to our kingdom and to our effort and to our success and victory. And that's the thrill of it. That's why I can't play them anymore. It wasn't just Madden is too much fun. I'd fall asleep playing Madden. Sport games are not my thing. But RPGs, building worlds, seeing progress, destroying the forces of evil and my own strength and leveling. Phenomenal. I'm here for it. That is important for us to reflect on. When we talk about priorities, why is this thing getting the time it gets? Because I like having fun and I have fun doing this? Cool. Because I need this to be okay? Not so cool. Let's talk about our priorities and turn to the Lord with that. So that's our first piece. The second piece is actually check the games themselves. There's 6 questions I encourage you to talk through. You should be familiar with these if you've listened to the podcast. I actually am holding a copy of my book right now. If you're on YouTube, you get to see it. Gospel Centered Tech. And page 67 is the section I deal with video games, and I walk through all 6 of these. But then quickly, really, I got a lovely text from actually another country. My friends were on a trip and they saw the book. They're like, we read it on our trip. I'm like, that's amazing. Thank you for doing that. And their encouragement was specifically that these 6 questions really helped them in their conversations. And that is my goal for you. My goal in giving you these 6 is not that they are watertight or bulletproof. It's not that you could never make a game choice mistake in using them. It's that it opens the conversation. You have a child who wants to play a video game. You're a loving parent that wants to give your child good things. Let's make sure this game is a good thing. So when we talk about how do we balance video games, the first is we have priorities. You go, you know what? Games are fine for our family. And right now is an inappropriate time to play them. I have this conversation with board games in my family. I'm like, hey, we love board games. You're not overstimulated. There's no ads hooking you in. There's no behavioral modification feedback loop between the haptics of the controller and the sounds and the flashing lights. There's no leveling that's overstimulating you. And yet you're playing that board game at an inappropriate time. It can happen with books, with board games, with exercise, with anything that is good can be used wrongly. And that is why those 2 verses, the first one being, hey, it might not be morally wrong, but is it good for now? And the second one, the Psalm, is that we should be amazed by God's greatness and his goodness, that nature and life should remind us of him. And if we're building our own kingdom instead, we just need to reflect on that and go, you know what? Maybe I'm not amazed enough with God. And that's why real life feels lame. Like maybe I actually need to take, rather than diving in because real life is lame, so I'm getting back to this, maybe the answer is actually take a step away from this and get back into real life and recalibrate what awesome actually looks like. So then that brings us to our page 67 of the book, the 6 questions. Would you have this character over for dinner? This specific question helps us align with our child. What do we expect? From you, from your character, from those you're spending time around? Please know, parents, your child is really forming a relationship with that video game character. If you do not want that child or your child hanging out with a person like that, please do not let your child play that game. It's a very valuable conversation point. Say those words to your child, be they 6 or 16. Say, hey, you know what? I don't want you to be more like this, so we're not going to practice being like this. We're not going to hang out with these people. And guess what? You can't share the gospel with your video game character. So the only potential reason for hanging out with this person, which is missional friendship, doesn't exist. This person's a program. So we get to unilaterally decide not currently at this stage of life. Second is violence part of it or point of it? The idea not being, is there any violence? Most games will have something from laser tag to spraying paint at each other to shooting shells at one another and knocking each other off the racetrack. The question is, what is the point of that? Is that just a greater part of a fun experience? Or are we celebrating and being creative about different form of macabre humor and intrigue, where some games are very much built around that? If you're not familiar, Mortal Kombat is a great example. We'll just leave it at that for today's conversation. Is the language helpful or harmful? You can go to esrb.org, the Entertainment Software Review Board. They do a great job of explaining exactly the language used in the storyline. If your child's playing a person-to-person video game, I promise you, the conversations, and at least some of the words they're hearing, are not things you'd probably use in the house. Have that conversation for balancing a video game, saying, is this a calculated risk we need right now when choosing this game? Can the game be beaten? Howlongtobeat.com is a great assessment of how long will this game take my child to complete one time through. If it says over 200 hours, the game is effectively limitless. So that's going to be World of Warcraft and Minecraft and Fortnite, games that don't have like an actual end. There's no like, well, you did it and now you can feel accomplished. That's not the point of those games. So just know that going in, when you choose it, it's okay to play a game that can't be beaten. You're just setting yourself up for a harder conversation. It's always going to be a battle because there's always something awesome to do. There's never an expiration of gaming excitement. And that's by design. It's very well designed for what it's trying to do. It's probably just too much for a developing brain. So be aware of that. Are the themes appropriate? Big games, small games, all have deep conversations. I mean, there was a free-to-play. It wasn't free-to-play. It was a fan-made, though, called Binding of Isaac that came out probably 10 years ago. And it's got some dark themes from someone who is very angry at God and is taking this concept of a human sacrifice and of God giving even Jesus as a sacrifice and being really angry with it. And the game itself was well made and it was interesting and it was fun to play. But the greater theme is deeply troubling. So make sure that you've talked it out with your kids because it's embedded in there, the kind of true vile nature of God. And, you're being duped into thinking that's good. And really you're the victim and that you should go establish your own kingdom. So, and that's like a little itty bitty, it's kind of made in like 16-bit blocky style graphics. But the themes are heavy. And then finally, is it built around, I guess I would say, is your child more present is the way I phrase the question in the book. But really, what fruit is produced? Is it love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and gentleness and faithfulness and self-control? Like you find a game that makes your kid gentle and joyful and self-controlled? Cool. Let your child play that game, please. If there are games that do the opposite, it's more Galatians 5, and that was Galatians 5:22, but Galatians 5:19-21, right? If it builds up envy or lust or anger or dissension, go, hey, you know what? Maybe the game's not wrong, but it's not a great fit for you right now. Let's play something else. All right, so that's the questions we ask about it with our reset in mind. I'm not going to dive through the whole reset, but a reset is we look at a game and say, does this improve or impede my relationships and responsibilities, my emotions, sleep, enjoyment, and time? There's lots of episodes on that. You can go back to January of this year to find out more on the reset. So then finally, it's just, how do I know what's happening? Is there accountability on this device? Accountability either preempted, meaning the device doesn't connect to the internet, so we're all good. You're playing a Game Boy. Cool. And systems that have great accountability, Nintendo Switch does a great job of creating a separate app that parents can use. Microsoft has come on board with this. So your Microsoft Xbox can have a parental app where you can help manage some of the content and even the games that can be played on that console. The access they have to the social side, Xboxes have a strong social component where you can connect with other players. Just keep that in mind, that if your child has other internet access, people will share links or profiles that they can go to and communicate outside of that platform. But really what we're talking about here is your network accountable? Do you have some kind of a router security system? So Griffin router is what I use. You can set up your devices on separate categories. So dad's laptop can access the internet after 8 p.m., but the television we have outside can't. So keep that in mind as an option. Something like the Bark Home. It's an actual hardware device you plug in to your modem and into your router, so that it doesn't project the internet, but it allows another layer of security. So your Roomba can still vacuum your house, but the smart devices all turn off unless they have cell service. That's a different conversation for another day. So that's how we find balance. We make sure we have our priorities. We make sure we've assessed the games that we're playing, that they're a good fit for our kid in this season. And then we have some kind of accountability to make sure the rules are actually being followed. They're not sneaking it at 2 a.m. They're not, right? Like they're not making poor choices. And if they are, that drives us to the reset and to a conversation of, hey, I love you. And this clearly is too much for you to handle right now. What do we need to do next? So balanced gaming is absolutely possible and it's imperative. If you've decided it's a good choice for your child to play games, your child must understand how to keep games in his or her proper place in the right time of day, for the right amount of time, for the right number of times in a week that is right for your child. If you're saying how much should they play, that's the conversation to have. Starting with something like 15 to 30 minutes is a great start. If you laughed out loud when I said that, find a number that's good for you. But don't do it more than 2 hours a day. If we're gaming more than 2 hours a day, there's a really good chance that's too much time compared to our priorities and what we're trying to do. We're talking 1/12 of our day is dedicated to gaming. That's plenty. And if we're doing 1/12 of our day every single day, that's probably too much as well when we look at the whole of what we're called to and what we need to be doing. So that's my hot takes on it. But it's your family. Please run it prayerfully and deliberately. Check out the Family Tech Framework at gospeltechworkshop.com and the book, Gospel Centered Tech, where you can talk through this more. You can read through the chapter, start on page 67 about video games. A little more of my journey is in there, and the reset tool is all in there for you. You can find out more about the book at gospelcenteredtech.com, or you can go to just Amazon and look up Gospel Centered Tech. And yeah, I hope that this conversation equipped you to feel encouraged about how you can talk about tech with your kids. You do not have to fight about tech. You can be deliberate. You can fight for your children rather than with them about their tech, and use each of these pinch points about technology, about wanting something and not being sure that it's a good idea, as a wonderful opportunity, an open door for conversational relationship for you to say, hey, I love you, and I'm going to give this to you if this is good for you. And if it's not, I'm not going to give it to you, no matter how mad you get at me, no matter how much you stomp and fight and threaten. Like, those only firm my resolve. Those only harden my determination to make sure that you can't do something that's going to hurt you or someone else. So, be encouraged, parents. You can balance video games. You can choose alternative activities. We'll talk about analog adventures another day. But my hope is, as you head into the school year, your video games are fun. You use them from hope, not for hope, and you even enjoy them with your child, because if they matter to your child, they now matter to you. So be encouraged. If it helped you, would you please share this with somebody? Would you check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Love God Use Tech? You can write me directly with any questions you've got, nathan@gospeltech.net, and then join us next week as we continue this conversation about how we can love God and use tech.